if you ever catch yourself using this term, the S word, snowflake, just stop yourself. Just stop yourself a second, because it's really played out. You shouldn't be using it. It's used by old people now. Do you know what I mean? It's played out. It's played out. It's like this decade's bling bling. Remember bling bling? Believe it or not, at one point it was okay to use that term. It was it was kind of a cool thing to say. It was, I promise you. But then as soon as the mainstream got hold of it and everyone was using it, daytime TV presenters, loose women, as in the show, not just, generally moralist hags. All kinds of people started using bling bling, and it was like, oh, please do not say that. When your grand's using it, I don't have a grand, but I'm sure you do, and she used it. Just saying, oh, bling, oh, that's blinging. Like, oh, good God. Because now it's people using the term snowflake are probably just old Daily Mail readers and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's not. Just don't do it. Just refrain yourself. Think of something new. Something new. Just don't do it. But anyway, I seen this a while ago, and I wanted to talk about it, but I just didn't. Well, today I am. So there you go. Isn't that nice? Like it or not, Generation Snowflake has got a raw deal. A study shows that young people are being hamstrung by stagnating wages and expensive housing. No wonder they're left wing. Well, yes. Yeah, I can totally understand that. Don't you just love this webpage using significant energy? Kind of says a lot about the Guardian as a whole entity, about how much significant energy it does use, and perhaps it shouldn't be. But anyway, the idea of generational conflict has come to prominence in the last few years, but few seem to agree on its shape and causes. Public discussion of young people, for instance, is so contradictory that they can appear to the casual viewer like a kind of Schrödinger generation. What is a Schrödinger generation? I don't know. I ain't got a fucking clue. Like, you're saying that as if I know what you're talking about, right? You're trying to make me feel dumb? I don't appreciate it, okay? Alright? Don't like that. Simultaneously, both Generation Snowflake, the most over-entitled and coddled generation in history, and Generation Screwed, the most disadvantaged age cohort in modern times. Now, disadvantage. You're talking about expectations, really, aren't you? You were offered the world, and then the world wasn't given to you. But you do genuinely and generally have it quite okay, really, Think of all the diseases you don't get. Think of the opportunities that you have. You got your 18 to 30 holidays. I mean, it's generally pretty good, isn't it? Isn't it? Like, when did, it's just not the dumb thing, though, is it? If you want to attract people to your political cause, is to say, oh, things are pretty good for you, considering the whole rich tapestry of history. No, they'd rather say, "Oh, you've never had it so bad. God, it's awful for you. It's terrible. You might as well be down the poorhouse in Victorian England." Like, come on, let's not be silly. Let's not be silly all the time. Let's have a day off of silliness. That'd be nice. Just one day a week. Start off one day a week. Work your way up. Advocates for the latter can point to trends such as the collapse in home ownership among the under 35s. It's a ball and chain. It's literally just throwing money into a pit of nothingness. Like, it's owning a home is meaningless. Trust me. It's like it's the first step to self-imprisonment is owning a home. It's like, nah, who wants that? Just buy gold. Anyway, prominent of the former argue that young people can't afford a house because they are irresponsible and frivolous, spending their money on avocado toast rather than saving for a deposit. I don't know if you've ever seen how millennials spend money. They don't spend it very well. I can definitely vouch for that. Yeah, I am one myself. My spending habits were terrible. They still aren't pretty good, but I'm learning. It's a hard struggle. You just don't go into shops. That usually helps. Just don't go into a shop. Cause it's just temptation everywhere. It's like, ooh, You know, you go out to buy some toothpaste and you end up spending 30 quid. You know, it's just, you know, a bit of discipline. That's all. Just a bit of discipline. A new report from the Resolution Foundation. What is that? I don't know. Has it got some sort of biases? I would have probably. I don't know. So take it with a little, you know. Described as an intergenerational audit, has provided the necessary data to decide which narrative is true. Oh, I bet. Do you know which narrative is true? Probably neither of them. It's somewhere in between. The findings are conclusive. The incomes of young people have been severely constrained, while housing costs have risen steeply compared with previous generations at a similar stage of life. The report also finds that, far from being spendthrifts, people under 30 are spending less on non-housing consumption than the same age group in 2001. Indeed, out of that reduced sum, they are spending more than their predecessors on essentials and less on luxuries. Yet, despite the irrefutable debunking, the Generation Snowflake stories won't disappear and play too important role in obscuring the true causes of generational tension. I know, we just need socialism to sort it out. That's probably what this is going to lead to at some point. It's guaranteed. Yeah, well, you need to define what essentials are, because essentials at this point in time are not the same as the essentials that you had in 2001. It's like almost 20 years ago, right? We have what we consider to be essential things may not be what is considered to be essential things in 2001. Like mobile phones would be a great example, just off the top of my head, because you know, 2001 was a sort of changeover period. It was, you know, that was a few years before that, you know, not long before that, it was still a social faux pas to be walking around talking on your mobile in public, because people just think you're a complete wanker. Okay, so that whole thing happened. It was a complete change. So, you know, you need to figure out what is considered to be an essential thing to someone and someone else. It's like if you go into Waitrose and they have their essential line, isn't the same as Asda's essentials, is it? You know, different strokes for different persons. Also finds, far from being spread with people under 30, the Resolution Foundation, I may have to look at what this is, insists that has no wish to pit generations against each other. The problem is, when we look at voting patterns and political opinion, it's apparent that the generations are already in conflict. Over the last 5 to 6 years, a yawning political generation gap has opened up, with the young moving left and the old moving right. While sizable minorities still buck the trend, the scale of the shift is unprecedented. Even more curiously, it's a phenomenon that has arisen at the same time across several different countries, most notably the UK and US. Blah, 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 blah. But then you have Generation Z, which are moving extremely right. So it seems to go around in sort of just goes around in circles like everything does. It's just a cycle, just living in a constant cycle that just never seems to end. That's depressing enough, isn't it? So there you go. Whatever. Thinking about the situation has made me question the traditional way we talk about generations, in which a new one simply comes along every 20 years. In fact, generational differences aren't often important factors in political and social life. They only become prominent when a specific event, a period of sudden, ruptural change, produces very different generational perspectives. In my book, Generation Left, I argue that the financial crisis of 2008 fits the bill as an explanation for our current generational political divide. Alright, it's 11 years ago now. Can we get over it already? In fact, we can see the current divergence as a consequence of the huge power the financial sector has held over the rest of society for the past 35 years. In the UK, this dominance dates to Thatcherite deregulation of finance in the mid-1980s. Alongside the sell-off of social housing, this produced a dramatic rise. Well, the sell-off of social housing, well, when you could buy your own house. When you could buy your right to buy. The Generation Snowflake myth persists despite all the evidence to the contrary. You haven't given me enough, because it acts as an alibi for those old enough to benefit from the rise, but who now mistake their generation's good fortune for the result of their individual character. The crash of 2008 should have put paid to this illusion, but governments responded not by punishing the financial sector, but by giving it everything it wanted. I mean, it was a fucking shit show, that's for sure. The ocean of free money that countries threw at finance in the form of bailouts, quantitative easing, etc., has largely gone into asset price inflation. And asset ownership, primarily housing, but also pensions invested in stocks, is so divided along generational lines, many people among the older cohorts have seen their material interests met, although almost by proxy. As a result, they are increasingly seeing the interests as aligned to the performance of the financial sector. The interests of younger cohorts, on the other hand, are aligned in a different direction depending on the levels of wage and social spending. In the last 10 years have been catastrophic in this regard. Indeed, in the 2010s will be the worst decade for wage growth in over 200 years. Is it any wonder that young people more open to left political projects such as those of Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders and lunatic woman AOC, promising to rein in finance and rebalance power in favour of workers? Alright, I've had enough of that. You know what you should do? Do you know what other generations done? Is they've invested. I've started investing fucking tiny amounts. I'm talking piddly amounts of what I can afford, because I'm thinking further ahead. Like, I own gold, okay, and stuff like that, okay? Small little piddly amounts. It's probably enough for a fucking small nose ring for a goth. But I am doing it bit by bit, because that's what you should be doing. That's what other people did, and that's what you should be doing. Like, thinking further ahead. You can't just rely on wages and employers. You've got to carve your own way. It's the only way. It's the best way. Otherwise, you're just a slave. But these people want to be enslaved and they want to be looked after. And that's the main point. They want a master. They yearn for a master. You know, when you ditch out religion in your life, you replace it with something else. It's mad. Like, that's what it is. It's like they need a higher power to be supervising them and giving them what they need instead of getting it for themselves. Like, because look at the generation after them. They will be the proof of the pudding of what exactly is going on. The Generation Z is coming. They're going to make you look very, very silly because they're very forward-thinking, according to studies and the whatnot and interactions I've had with lunatics online. But that's what I'm saying. Like, start thinking different. Just think of a different way. I did. You should. Just do it. Think of a different way out of it. Think outside the box. You have the most access to information ever. It's all there. Look, there's people becoming millionaires in their bedrooms still. Okay? That dream isn't dead yet, although they're trying to kill it. You know, you can just talk into a camera, become a millionaire. Like, like, you just got to go through a period of bullshit to come out the other side, but enjoy the journey. Allah, this is the journey. I don't particularly want to be here right now, but I have to be here for a couple of weeks because it's part of the journey and it's what I had to do in order to move on to the next step. Okay? I've been miserable for about a week, but I know there's something on the other side. Okay? Right? Right? Lesson over. Pull your bloody socks up, would you?